Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. Hope you guys are well, hope it's all good. Very, very quick weather update. Grey, cold and brilliant, love it. Dry, you see. All joking aside, I hope you guys are really well. We're okay here, nothing much has changed since yesterday nor the day before that. Filming a quick video, rushing off to work, as I'm sure most people around the country are doing as well. Anyway, enough waffle. An important review today. This is one that I've been trying to do for quite a while. You may remember some months ago I received 4 samples from my dear friend, the Queen of Niche. She sent me some samples from a company called Maher Olfactive, from the mind of Sean Maher. And today we're going to be looking at another one of the samples, and this one is going to be called, or is called I should say, Santal Auster. And here it is. Now, I got 4 samples of the collection that Sean had released. Obviously Sean's quite well known for the Chatillon Luxe. In fact, he was up for an award fairly recently with one of those perfumes. But in 2020, he released Maher Olfactive, which is a sort of separate collection. He has, I think, 4 at the moment. I think there's some more coming out in that collection, and they're all really, really interesting. Sean is very much in the niche world. The perfumes he makes are very, very niche in terms of quality and smell, and are rather excellent. Now, I tried when I got them, when I got the 4, what I like to do is I cut out 4 pieces of paper and I sprayed one perfume on each of the squares and then smelt them individually. And then I like to sit down and try and sniff things out, especially when you're working with samples, because you haven't got a great deal of liquid to go on. So you need to use it sparingly and you need to make the most of it. So what I did was that, you smell the paper, you write down what you think it is, and then you leave it, come back to it and try and get to know it that way before you put any on skin. And I sat down one evening, I'd sprayed all 4 and I'd written my notes and stuff like that and sort of done a bit of research on them and kind of left it, went to bed. And when I came back in the morning, the room smelt magnificent. One of them had almost acted like a diffuser and it really kicked out all over the room. And that was this one. This was Santal Auster. Now, with a name like Santal Auster, you know this is going to be a perfume that's dominated or about sandalwood. So, and that's exactly what it is. It's, it's an amazing fragrance in that respect. And sandalwood, if you've been watching the channel, you know that it's a really, really important material to me. There is a top 10 sandalwood fragrances, which I recorded earlier in the year, which is well worth a look if you have a love of sandalwood like myself. And obviously, Carolyn, the Queen of Niche, that sent me these samples, she is a sandalwood addict as well. Now, I have tested this a couple of times. I've had a few sprays of it over the last couple of months and just trying to get to know it a bit better. Now, I sprayed it last night as well. I've sprayed a little this morning to do the school run. I'm going to spray it a little bit more now for the purposes of the review. This is something else, by the way. If you are a fan of sandalwood fragrances, you're going to need to check this one out. So let's have a little spray now. A bit there, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to have another spray here too. Right, what I'll do is we'll go through the notes and we'll talk a little bit about the perfume, how it works, what I think of it, my impressions on it, and a little bit of background maybe about the perfume itself. Okay. Yes. Okay, right, let's look at the notes first before I get too carried away. So the notes listed are Mysore Sandalwood Accord, Oud, Apopanax, Styrax, Aged Patchouli and Castoreum. All notes there that I absolutely adore. So, this is a real me kind of perfume. He's used, everything is used. There are notes that I really, really like. But we need to appreciate that sandalwood is the star of this show. Now, what he's done is it's sustainably, what's the word I'm looking for? It's sustainably harvested sandalwood. So obviously sandalwood's such a rare and precious material, and basically it's very, very scarce. So, the sustainability of it is something that's quite important to Sean and to perfume in general and to the rest of us. We want it to be around forever, but obviously we have to look after it. And this, okay, let's change the angle of this. So Sean's raison d'etre, if that doesn't sound a bit too weird. So Sean's kind of main driver for this, as it were, is to invoke memories, or to have perfumes that are conduits to memories. And you know, the association between smell and memory is long established. It's not something that's new. Everyone's known about it for a long, long time. And so to make perfumes that evoke those memories, or you know, as I say, you know, act like a conduit to memories, is something really, really important. And something that I really, really appreciate. Now, I have spoken to Sean a couple of times via Messenger about, you know, the perfumes, just try and get a bit of a background. And there's something that we both share. Both our fathers worked in construction. And when, you know, like a lot of people that work in construction, construction workers generally have a love of the smell of their materials, especially when it's wood or timber. And Sean's dad obviously sort of reeks of wood all the time, and certainly my father, although he didn't actually work on the manual side of construction, he was a buyer for a large building company, which was a very, very stressful job. He was ordering sort of tons and tons and tons of materials to be delivered all around the country. And my father's way of relaxing was to make things out of wood. So in the small cottage I grew up in, we had one room that had been turned into a workshop. So Dad was always sawing and, you know, planing and sanding wood to make various bits and bobs around the house, and just to keep himself out of trouble, basically. So I grew up with a strong smell of wood in the house, and I think that's why I'm kind of drawn to fragrances like this. And in the same way, Sean's made a celebration of sandalwood to evoke those memories, and he's done a very good job of it. The key players in this are the oud, the sandalwood, and a little bit of the patchouli. The rest of the notes all kind of there. Well, everything there is basically to support the sandalwood. The oud, now obviously, oud is a very woody material. Let's face it, oud for its entire life is in a tree. It's made by a tree, and the only time it's not part of a tree is when it's being refined and turned into chips, which is still wood, or, you know, it's being sort of compressed and turned into an oil. So, you know, oud and wood together, obviously very good bedfellows. They spend their entire lives together, well, especially from the oud's point of view. A Popanax is a soft, slightly smoky sometimes, soft resiny material, as Styrax has this completely, it's not smoky, but it's often creamy. It's quite vanilla-like. And I find sandalwood and vanilla go very, very well together. Now, one thing you will notice with this is it's not overly sweet. There is a tiny little piercing sweetness when it hits your skin, and it just smells divine. It's a beautiful fragrance. If you like sandalwood, now my wife's obsessed with it. We have sort of diffusers, sandalwood diffusers. We have sandalwood candles. So it's a note that my wife really enjoys as well. So our house quite often smells of sandalwood all the time. And I really, really like that, because, you know, what I'm trying to say with sandalwood is I find it very calming. It's a very relaxing material for me, and for my wife too. And we both have quite stressful lives. So sandalwood is a real good way of chilling out. It's a warming smell for me. And it also smells very clean. Now, what is really, really clever about this is there's quite some big materials that are used in this. Castoreum especially can be very animalic, and give a real edge. There is a slight hint of something animalic in here, but it's not unpleasant at all. It just adds to it. It creates a wonderful nuance that's just, I don't know, it's lovely. I find the smell of this perfume quite authoritative. Now, I don't know whether that's because it's my mind that's kind of taken me back to being with my dad or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but it just seems like, you know, you're not in control when you're wearing this. Something else is making all the important decisions for you. Something else is taking all the pressure off you when you wear it, which I absolutely love. Obviously, it's, you know, you're still you. You just, I don't know, it's like you're having some support with your day is probably a better way of putting it. Now, when it comes to performance with this, I thought when I put it on paper, this was going to be an absolute beast, and it's really, really not. It's incredibly long lasting. And when I first tried it on skin, I was like, oh, really? I thought it was going to be much, much bigger. I really noticed how long lasting it was. It goes on forever, but I thought it'd have more of an oomph, and it doesn't, and it doesn't need to. The more you explore the perfume, the more you understand it. This isn't a perfume that kicks out. It's not meant to be. This is for people to enjoy on you and for you to enjoy on yourself. It smells divine, and people that are lucky enough to get close to you when you're wearing it will smell it. It does waft out a bit. So, you know, when I wore it on the school run this morning, I applied it a couple of hours before I took my son to school. When I was walking there, you just get little wafts of it, and then when I was walking back, you get little wafts of it, and obviously now I've reapplied it, it seems to be everywhere again. So it's In terms of performance, it's very long lasting. It's more than a skin scent, don't get me wrong, but it is a subtle fragrance and it's beautiful because of that. As I say, if people can smell it on you, then they're close to you and they're lucky enough to be able to pick it up, because it's, you know, they're in for as much of a treat as you are. So it's a very long lasting fragrance. I find sandalwood, generally speaking, quite a masculine fragrance, but it does smell divine on other people. It smells divine on women too. It smells lovely on my wife, and as I say, Carolyn, she's obviously a woman and she absolutely adores sandalwood, so it is a completely unisex fragrance. I think it suits the more mature fragrance enthusiast a lot better than it will do the younger thrusters out there, but I think anyone that wears it will smell really, really cool. It's just a lovely, lovely fragrance. There's a little bit of patch that I notice as it starts to dry down. This is quite a linear fragrance. It doesn't really change that much. You know, what you get in the opening, apart from that little bit of sweetness that's quite sharp in the opening, sort of fades off. And then the other materials slowly and slightly appear. They don't dominate anything. The sandalwood, you know, the Mysore Sandalwood Accord is undoubtedly the star of the show, and that's what this perfume is all about. It's just a beautiful, beautiful perfume. And I think if you have any interest in sandalwood at all, you're going to need to try this. As you can see, I only have a sample of it at the moment, but it's one that I'm after. Obviously, I've got Christmas coming up and lots of expense, but this is certainly on my list. And it, you know, if I had a bottle of it, it would certainly, I'd have to redo my top 10 sandalwood fragrance video for sure, because this is something else. It's such a natural smelling treat. I don't know, that's probably the best way to put it. So what I'm trying to get across to you guys is you need to try this fragrance if you have any interest in sandalwood. If you don't have any interest in sandalwood and would like to know more about, you know, what sandalwood feels like to wear, you know, have a look at this. I've got ouds that are sandalwood heavy, and I've got some sort of sandalwood attars, which are, you know, in this world, this is a perfume that holds its head up high. It will compete with, you know, sort of artisan ouds. It will compete with attars in terms of smelling of quality. It is really that good. In terms of price, it's not a cheap fragrance by any means. I think it's around $150 for a 50 ml. So, you know, it's not a cheap purchase, but in terms of quality, it's you know, it's a bargain in that respect. I think it's a lot of money, but it's money well spent, especially if you are a fan of sandalwood. So listen, I'm well aware that I've been gushing quite a lot with this one, and I don't mean to be. You know, if I didn't like it, I'd quite happily say so. Well, actually, I wouldn't have reviewed it, to be honest, and I really do like it. So I hope you guys do get a chance to try it, because this is a pretty special fragrance, and one I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more about in times to come. You know, it's not been out very long. So it takes a while for these things to filter through the world of Fragcom. And as we, you know, more people smell it, I'm sure we're going to hear more and more people talking about it, and we'll see a lot more about it on YouTube. So there you have it, a bit of a sneak preview in some respects. So listen, guys, thank you very much for your time. Always a pleasure. And we will be back as soon as possible with some more videos. So listen, take care, stay safe, and we will see you soon. Cheers and bye.